Okay. So let me try to share my slides. You should be able to see my screen. I'm gonna try to go slideshow and hope that, yeah. Great. So again, welcome everyone to the kickoff meeting of the Eclipse OpenSOVD project. So this meeting is gonna be structured in this way. I'm going to be saying a couple of words regarding the Eclipse Software-Defined Vehicle Working Group. This project is going to be soon under the umbrella of the working group itself. And yeah, so I'm gonna say a few words about the working group, the framework, then also spend a couple of words, Markus or I, on the Memorandum of Understanding that was recently signed by a number of by the major organization in the automotive domain, and then I'm gonna pass over the floor to Tim and Thilo, talking about the actual technicalities of the project. So let's get started. Again, so I can see a lot of known faces, but some of them are new. So I'm actually really happy that we are able to attract new members to the community. And so this is a good occasion to let you know what is the Eclipse Software-Defined Vehicle Working Group. So the mission, basically the statement that is in our charter is we, the Software-Defined Vehicle Working Group, we aim to provide a forum for individual and organization to build and promote open source software, specification, and open collaboration models. Those are needed to create a scalable, modular, extensible, industry-ready, and I would like to underline industry-ready, open source licensed vehicle software platform to support in-vehicle and around the vehicle system development and deployment. So essentially, the goal of the working group is to enable and speed up the development of applications while we work together in a common domain that is below what we call as value line. There are three main pillars that the working group is based on. First and foremost, this is our biggest asset, is the wide spectrum of open source projects. So we are home to more than 30 projects. They are categorized under SDV Dev, so toolchain and workflows, Ops, cloud-based mobility solution, and Edge, which is the most important one at this moment, and it is the in-vehicle software stack. The second pillar is governance. So as you can imagine, being so focused towards project, we are code first. So we want to have code that runs. We don't want to have PowerPoint presentations, except today. We want to really rely on running code. That's why we ask for active participations from our members in particular, but from the community at large. And then vendor neutrality. This is a task that we, Eclipse Foundation staff, are mostly dedicated to, and is ensuring that all of the activities are and stay vendor neutral, and also that the working group operates in a transparent and open manner. Third, but not least, this important pillar is the community. So we have right now about 60 members, 60 organizations that are members of the working group. And we try to foster and grow our community through events, in-person events, but also events like this one, where we foster the growth of new projects by giving a public kickoff meeting. The upcoming meeting that I would like to point your attention towards is our VFD Hackathon, which is happening at the end of September, beginning of October, in Berlin and in Porto. If you want to experience firsthand our project, that is the best way to do so. I talked about a landscape of projects. So you can imagine most of our projects are building blocks. They mostly are located in the service fabric and communication domain, middleware and framework, communication protocol, digital twin, but also runtime and orchestration projects. All of those are enabled by a list of toolchain of tooling projects, some of them in the testing domain, for instance, but also in processes and frameworks such as the Trustable Software Framework. Most importantly, lately we have been working and getting a lot of attention around distributions and frameworks. For instance, the Eclipse S-Core project, you might have, I guess you all have heard about it, is getting a lot of attention because it is a project that aims at integrating and setting up and developing a core full stack, which is targeted towards safety relevant applications. And here comes our new project that we are going to be talking about today, which is probably between middleware and communication. And with that, Markus, if you would like to say a couple of words, since you were very close to this.
Yeah, thank you. You hear me, hopefully? Yes, very good. Yes, Sara, and thank you for introduction and also explaining the Eclipse Foundation. My name is Markus Rettstatt. I'm head of software-defined car at Mercedes-Benz Tech Innovation. This is the largest German software hub from Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, we've now since roughly 2,000 software developers. Yeah. And 1/3 of them are developing directly for the automotive stuff, also directly in the car. So first of all, I want to explain that also the industry in the EU started in Germany. We announced that we are enabling a cooperation for an open source development. Is also resided at the Eclipse Foundation. The name is S-Core, and we signed a Memorandum of Understanding. You can read it, which companies are starting with this approach, and the aim is to develop non-differentiating things together in a common approach, to have a common middleware stack in open source, And given that, Mercedes has also decided to develop the SOVD standard itself in Rust as an internal project, and to support this S-Core stack and also the complete automotive and also the industry beyond that, and to promote the standard, we decided to open source also our development and to develop additional components within the community, also for cross-platform use. So that's why we are here. And maybe I can directly hand over to, I think, Thilo or Tim.
Yes, thank you so much, Markus, for joining today and for summarizing what your announcement was about. Yes, we are extremely now happy to hear about the new project. So I would like to leave the stage to Thilo and Tim, and I'm going to try to go through the slide.
Yeah, thank you. So basically here we have a little bit of a recap of what we also presented when we first announced this during the community days. So I will just give you a very brief overview of what a little bit of a background is, why we want to do this. So first and foremost, you can see on this slide, the diagnostic is really at the heart of the entire vehicle life cycle. So from development to production until after sales and even quality when the vehicles are sent down, diagnostic is at the core of everything. And next slide, please. And we can also see a shift in requirements. So many of the legacy tools and legacy standards that are being used predominantly today, like for example UDS, don't really match anymore with the software-defined vehicle approach that all of us are working on, especially tool-driven configuration and really static configurations for legacy ECUs don't really match anymore. And also the shift towards over-the-air updates and back-end connectivity requirements now call for a new standard, so for SOVD. And SOVD, as most of you probably know, has a couple advantages. It has a self-descriptive API, portable clients, standardized endpoints. It's based on proven cloud technology like HTTP and REST, and therefore also brings a lot of security benefits. Next slide. yeah, here just a couple more key advantages of SOVD. I'm not sure how much we need to go into depth or if you know the standard, but basically the key advantages are we have faster integration, so we don't have any manual modeling anymore. We have faster ECU onboarding. We have a code-first approach, which also fits very nicely, we believe, to the Eclipse mindset. We have a self-descriptive schema, so we can dynamically discover capabilities during runtime. And yeah, as I mentioned before, lots of web technology in here that makes it much easier to connect it to the cloud, makes it much more secure because for those protocols there are already security standards in use, and also simplifies the client architecture a little bit. So typically in diagnostic you have a client for development, for workshop, for remote, and here we can see that we can really consolidate that. And additionally, a big advantage of SOVD is that it is defined in the ISO 17978. So that makes it a great candidate for an open source project like this one. Next one, please. Yeah, I think we can skip this one. Okay, so here just a very brief overview of the current state of the architecture and the concept. So as we've already heard, this project is basically a spin-off out of S-Core, and this is also where this concept is from. You can also find a link in the description to access this feature request in the S-Core repository. And basically, the architecture that you can see on the right-hand side is divided into three main parts. So you have the upper layer up until the diagnostic fault manager, where we interact with the applications, and a fault library that gives the application the possibility to set fault codes or also do debouncing, for example, the diagnostic fault manager that collects all of that and stores it in a diagnostic database. And then below that, you have we would call it the SOVD layer. So you have the SOVD server, service apps in a generic way, or routines, however you want to call it. We have the SOVD gateway to enable this as a distributed system. And then we have a classic diagnostic adapter to interface still with our legacy systems via UDS. And UDS to SOVD proxy is the same thing in reverse, so that we can still diagnose our HPC using UDS, and then also clients. And what you can also see here is that all the solid lines is what for now we see in scope of this project. And the dotted lines would be interfaces to other projects or where we would leverage technology also coming from S-Core, like for example, the configuration management manager as an example. And as you can see, if you just focus on the solid lines here, the vision is really to provide a usable diagnostic stack that is based on SOVD that you can really use end to end. So from your application all the way to your diagnostic clients for various applications like in workshop, remote diagnostics, and so on. And yeah, next one, please. So basically here you just see that where that fits into the S-Core stack. So if you're not familiar with S-Core, here the vision is to provide a holistic platform software stack. And of course, diagnostic is a capability that can't miss. So one idea is also to integrate then later on into this holistic stack. But just to call that out here specifically, you don't need to use the entire S-Core stack to be able to use OpenSOVD. At least that's the idea. Yeah, and why do we do this? Yeah. Basically, we want to foster collaboration, and we also want to foster adoption of the SOVD standard because we believe that it's the future. And yeah, we're happy that you guys are here today. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I take over at that point. So hi, I'm Thilo Schmitt, also from Mercedes-Benz Technovation. I'm one of the project leads for OpenSOVD. And I would give you a quick rundown of what happened so far and what we are going to do as next steps. So Current status is we have written the project proposal end of May, started that process, and presented and announced this project at the SDV Community Days, June 4th and 5th, and at the end of that week, we started also into public community review, and I can thankfully say that we just made it through the creation review. So that means just today, a few hours ago, and so that means the project was now created. It's now a proper Eclipse project. And the resource allocation, like GitHub organizations, mailing lists, and all these things that are behind such a project creation are imminent. So during the day or tomorrow or so, this will pop up very soonish at least. And we will be using these resources to also coordinate and communicate. So on the GitHub org, we will for example, post these slides here and probably the video link to that, or and further invitations, which brings me to the next steps. So now that the project exists, right? We have a couple of things to do in front of us. So as I said, the GitHub organization will be deployed soonish, and so we will have to set this up. And what I can, give as a little bit of an outlook, what we have learned from the past, we will have one main repository in that GitHub organization where we will host all these discussions and issues on a top level, right? And also provide a means of coordination within the project, but also to communication, information, providing to the outside of the project, to interested parties. And so once this is deployed, feel free to head over there and look all at what all these information that we will provide there, and stay in touch basically with latest developments. The other thing is getting to do actual code. As Sara said in the very beginning, in the SDV working group, we are pretty proud about the code first mantra. So we want to live that and get into doing as quick as possible. But yeah, also have seen what Tim presented. So there is a lot of things that need to be done and to be orchestrated. And so what we think we will do is we will split that work up in a couple of work streams, say along the components that needs to be developed or contributed. And also horizontal means like security testing, CI infrastructure, and so on. Also, you have heard about S-Core, and that we probably want to integrate into that as one aspect of the whole OpenSOVD initiative. So these are a couple of work streams where we think that makes sense to split them up and organize them in smaller rounds, so that coordination and organization gets more efficient. we will set up meetings for that, where you can join according to your interests in contribution or engagement, and we'll work it from there, I guess. What we also will have, I guess, is some overarching group that will have a holistic view on all this. So like an architecture board or something, where we will orchestrate on a top level that all this comes together at the right point in time and clicks well together, right? And also there will probably be some project management or organizational stuff to be done. So I guess we will also have a round that will take care of this. Once this is all set up and we are ready to start on this, we will send out invitations, both on, as I said, GitHub, and through the usual channels we have available, like Eclipse, STV, working group, mailing lists, the project's mailing list, probably set up something in the community calendar, stuff along that lines, right? So that this is clear to everyone what will happen, and that you can join us in that endeavor. That is the part that we can do. If you like, you're welcome to redistribute these invitations to interested parties, so that that we get the interested people together and have a good crowd that can lift this off the ground. That would be awesome. Today we are here in the very first meeting towards the OpenSOVD project, like kind of a kickoff. But I think it makes sense to have such a meeting regularly. So to give the community as a whole an update, whether you were in the middle of the OpenSOVD project or not, right? If you still want to hear about it and see progress and developments, or hear the latest news, then this would be probably a format that we will be taking on to engage with the creator community, right? And link this up with the rest of the STV world. And finally, and Sara touched on that too, OpenSOVD is now a project, an Eclipse project, which lives under the top level project automotive at the Eclipse Foundation. And of course, as you have already felt in this meeting, we want to be part of the STV working group universe. There is some formalities to be done there, so we will present the project at the Technical Advisory Committee, which then can advise the steering committee to take this under the working group's purview, and then the steering committee can put this advice into force, and then we will become an official STV working group project. This is definitely something that we will take up pretty soon. So that's pretty much what we have in store for you today. And there's one more point I want to hit home right now. So you've heard a lot of S-Core also today, and we are well aware that not everyone here is probably going to engage or wanting to engage in S-Core, but still has an interest in diagnostics, vehicle diagnostics, and especially in SOVD. And so this is why we have this made a separate project. its own project that needs to be able to stand on its own. As I said, there is, of course, a certain friendship and overlap to S-Core, and we'll make sure that this link is well established and it fits well into the S-Core universe as well. But still, this is its own project. OpenSOVD is it's a standalone project, and so don't hesitate to get engaged and be afraid to get entangled in S-Core things. This is probably not the case if you don't want to, right? All right. With that said, I think I would give back to Sara and probably will open for questions and answers.
Yes. Thank you, team, and thank you, Thilo, for presenting the project. Yes, I can see we already have the first question. Stefan?
Yeah, so many thanks for giving this overview and of this separate project that we have here now, because I'm more driven from the SCORE project. And my question would now be, how do you want to keep these projects in sync? Because I can easily imagine that they might deviate if the processes and workflows are somehow not synchronized.
Very good question. So I think in SCORE we have found a great way of developing automotive grade software, and even with safety certification in our minds. And I think it would be a good way, a good learning to apply all these best practices also in OpenSOVD. This would be my wish, and I think one of the ground ideas, of course, why wouldn't we leverage all these expertise that we already had in S-Core? But of course, we are not a new project. We have to see what all these participants can agree on, right? But I think that would be at least my favorable path forward, right? So leverage the S-Core way of doing things to a certain degree, and ensure that we can always integrate nicely with S-Core.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. This integration part. I mean, it's taken with care, right? Because having double maintenance is maybe not
exactly
the best approach.
Yeah, and there is also some. We have to see where we do, how we separate things, right? There's probably on one slide there was this diagram how the S-Core feature request for diagnostics integration is envisioned, and there's probably also boxes on that diagram that are more SCORE specific, that would need to live in SCORE maybe, and not so much in OpenSOVD. Yeah, so we have to see as a project community how to draw the correct lines and do the correct cuts, right?
Yeah, and hopefully the requirements don't deviate in the future.
Sure.
Or even contradict. Okay.
Point well taken, yes.
But I have to say, so this is an excellent point, but from a interoperability point of view, I think it's also a very good experiment to have a project that wants to work very closely with S-Cores, but that has its own identity. So I think it's actually a very good experiment to have a project that's want to be integrated, since we want to test an integration gate and a collaboration outside of the actual repositories of S-Core. So I think that's a really good experiment to be make. Yes, it's gonna be complex, but
yeah,
we live in interesting times.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this an S-Core meeting, but just one more thought. S-Core from the start on said it's an integration project. It's not so much a project that will host everything it does itself, right? And so this is one attempt to actually do this, right, and live this idea. And let's see how we manage to do that, but I'm pretty hopeful.
Okay, so we have a question from Fadi.
Yes, hello. Thanks a lot for this initiative. I think that's exactly what the market needed. My question directly, what of the in-scope blocks that were in the diagram will be open sourced by Mercedes or exist already in the current Mercedes implementation, and which blocks do you need community to support with?
So we are actually here with a couple other organizations that are on the bandwagon. First and foremost, we started this initiative together with ZF. So shout out to Gunther. Hi. So to address your question directly, so Mercedes will contribute the CDA, the classic diagnostics adapter. So the bridge between SOVD and legacy UDS world. We have heard from other parties that they would like to contribute things like the SOVD server. I think ZF has indicated that, and other parties as well. And so we will see how we distribute the work and collaborate on that thing. But yeah, so as I said, Mercedes itself will deliver this CDA building block, and not saying we will not deliver more, but for the time being, that's our main contribution.
Okay, so that's great actually to hear. And like we have also some other parts like the client actually and few other things that we could contribute. So maybe we can catch up later about this.
Yeah, that would be awesome. As soon as this GitHub organization is set up, I'll invite you all to engage in our discussions that we will open there, and enter your interest, which component you could possibly contribute. We had already some talks prior to this meeting with some organizations, but yeah, so let's gather that publicly, transparently, and then we will I guess go into these workstream meetups, and everyone who is, say, interested in the SOVD server or client or whatever will come together, and you guys will figure out how to best collaborate on these individual blocks.
And to add on this, only one thing, also possible, of course, also to join also into the development of the CDA.
Absolutely.
It's not completely finished, yeah. But with our first delivery, it works, yeah. I think via DoIP, yeah. Also used an open source project, yeah. Maybe Samuel is also in the call. I didn't recognize him, but this could be also a crucial part, yeah, to add also additional protocols, yeah. Only as an example, yeah. We will find out a way, yeah, that we can benefit from each other.
Exactly. Yeah, so we will arrive with code, as I said, but as Markus stressed right now, of course we are open for collaboration on that part as well, right? This is why we do open source. We wouldn't do open source if we wouldn't welcome any collaboration. So
yeah. Some of the guys and colleagues in the chat are also trying to access the GitHub repository.
Yes.
Yeah? Maybe we should explain that, Sara. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you
So
can
and then I'll let Mauro ask his question. So just real quick. So
Yeah.
the process goes like there is initially a proposal. The proposal is initially in a draft version. Once the EMO team, which is our team that is in charge of projects, checks the proposal, the IP, and so on, and the trademark, and everything's green, then the proposal becomes public. It is open to the community. Once 2 weeks pass without anyone opposing to it, which is the case, the project is officially started and the creation review starts, which happened today. Because not only do we need time for the community to, in case, say something, but also we need the PMC, which is the Program Management Committee from the top level project, to go get the green light. Sorry for the noise. So once the PMC gives a +1 on this project, which happened today, then can we provide the project with everything? So with the website, with the GitLab repository, and so on. So it's honestly happening like as we speak. So we are going to have the GitLab repository very soon as the colleagues provide those. So yeah, so great timing. Yeah. So just please stay tuned and wait a couple of days, should be there soon. Mauro, please. You're muted. Oh,
yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you very much for this very interesting starting point. I would say it's very good to see the idea that is starting to build up. I have a couple of questions around where are we starting from? Is this project starting from, I am assuming, from the ASAM 1.0 official delivery, right?
It's starting from the ISO 17978, which is still the draft international standard. It is, but if you want it, you can also buy this standard, and so we will be ISO based, right? But
And
which is
that is a great news.
Which is basically what the ASAM has standardized, probably with some wording changes, I guess. But I didn't do an actual diff, so I can't tell you. So, but we will use.
It's exactly 1.1 as far as I know, and for 1.0 they are also merging it into the ISO standard. Yeah. The reply from ASAM was also, yeah, it's one of the projects they are aware of. Yeah, they are not supporting it. Yeah, but they are aware of, and we are also in discussion to have a closer loop also regarding the ASAM and also our company within Mercedes. So I'm hopefully can also have some people who are joining directly from ASAM also from into the project. Yeah, only looking on the standards, but the first step after the other. Yeah.
Great. And maybe since it's like that, and I'm very happy that it is like that we are starting in alignment with the ASAM ISO, I would say, cooperation. Another question around the same. Then the envisioning futuristic idea could be, do you have an idea of a future where with this open source project, we aim to replace or to execute actually and conformance test of the API as code? Do you have such a conformance testing idea against the official ISO API or not?
I mean, obviously, we have to ensure code quality and correctness against the standard, right? So this sounds to me like a very good idea to have such a thing in the project. So it's probably something that we could put to the backlog, right?
Yeah, I see it like a potential for cooperation. Since we are speaking about cooperation, usually ISO is I know very few ISO projects having a conformance test specification officially, very few of them. And this one could be an idea to have code instead of a spec.
Definitely would be a chance, yeah, that we could use. Absolutely. Yeah.
Super. Many thanks.
Okay, there are also a question from Yuri, maybe also Sara can answer on. There was clarification question regarding the GitHub repository. It's not GitLab. I would say actually it's yes, it's true, yeah. But as far as I know, also possible, not used actually, yeah, that we can use GitLab if anything hinders us, yeah. But as far actually for me, it's absolutely okay. GitHub. Is there any prevention in this round using GitHub?
We can set up both. So from an Eclipse perspective, if the project wants something different, we can set it up.
So we have requested a GitHub setup. If there is, as Markus said, if there is feelings.
Yuri already replied to GitHub.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Yuri.
Okay. Thanks.
I think the question is closed.
Okay.
It's open, but we start with GitHub. Yeah. So to be clear.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's true.
So Edcore is in GitLab in GitHub. Sorry. So probably it's easier, but.
Yeah, so there was one or two things more in the chat. Ito-san, I think you asked whether we create an open SOVD logo. I think that will happen sooner or later. Yeah, we haven't started on that. Yeah, but we have to discuss that.
Yeah. We created we created such on our own, but it's not the official one.
Yeah. but yeah. So I think we will probably go into discussion with the SDV working group once we are under the purview, and then discuss with the marketing committee there what we can do this, how we can do this.
Yes, I think there was a question on whether if it is in Rust. It's implemented in Rust, but you already mentioned it. Yeah.
Yes. So our contribution will be in Rust. This is, I would say, the preferred language I would see in the project. Also, I think there is currently a lot of arguments in coming together in the industry why this is beneficial over, say, C++, which is the elephant in the room, I guess. I wouldn't say we rule out C++ completely, because I can envision that there will be contributions out of existing portfolios, right? Which could be in C++, but I would say we would have to have a technical discussion about that. But I don't want to rule that out completely at the moment.
And also Yuri answered we can generate C bindings. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's possible. Yeah.
So there is an interoperability way of doing C++ in Rust. So that's also established and well known. So that this is why I say, for me, I think it's not an issue also to have C++. I would wish that we have most of the stuff in Rust. Personally. Okay.
Yuri, do you have any question, Yuri?
Yes, I do have a question more on the project structure, code structure, and release process. So we can do more monolithic approach, which tends to move slower, but then has like an overall more established presence and established libraries, or we can do a far quicker release very often and modularize it. So basically, like I've seen the extremes of basically every single PR when it gets merged to main gets automatically released. So even those things are possible. What do you envision in terms of overall code structure, in terms of monolith versus modular and release process?
So I can say what I personally would do. If that's what we will do is a different thing, because I think we have to meet and get together in the parties that will get involved and to decide together how we do this, right? What I could see is, as you said, we have these individual components in that picture, and I could imagine that we have some sort of independent in development of that, and have for the project as a whole like a rolling release kind of a thing, right? We still have to ensure that this all fits together and works together. What the sweet point is in that scenario, I can't say right now, but I can envision that, for example, the CDA crew and the SOVD server crew will develop independent of each other, and at some point we will release some combination of versions of those, right? But I don't think we have to develop in lockstep everything, right? Makes it more efficient from my point of view. But again, that's my point of view, and we have to discuss this in the project. But happy to have that discussion. Absolutely.
Okay, there's another question from Venkat.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, first of all, thanks for setting this up and organizing it. It takes a lot of effort to bring this to this stage where everybody can get together. But I just wanted to know, how soon do you think we'll start from here on?
We will wait for the GitHub organization to deploy, and I think we will. Yeah. We will not wait. Sit here and just wait. We will do progress, absolutely. So there's no point in wasting time. So as soon as we can, I think we will have the first meetups and meeting rounds, discussions. Yeah. So as soon as possible, I would say.
Nothing hinders us to deploy the code, yeah, but also we to double check documentation, double check also our code repositories. This could take some time, but it's not about months, yeah. It's, I would say, more or less the next weeks.
All right.
Yeah, with our starting point, if somebody in the round is faster, invited to do this earlier on.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. There is another question from the chat. Is security part of the OpenSOVD project? Seems part of the escorting the drawing. There was already a reply. Okay. So another question on how to join Slack. So you need to join first. So I need to create a Slack channel first, but one dedicated to the project if the project team so wants. But in general, everyone can join the Slack channel of the working group. And it's on our website. A link is on our website under resources, but I'm gonna find a link and post it in a sec. Good. Any other? Venkat, do you have other questions? No.
No.
Yuri, do you have
I
other
have
questions?
a quick question. No STD versus STD support. Are we focusing on embed devices, or we're focusing on full operating system support, or both? What's the overall?
I would say we focus on HPCs, so it's not too embedded to start with, and then we have to see how we expand, right? If there's merit in expansion to the deeply embedded world with SOVD, I think that would be worth a discussion at least. It's probably not the exact answer that you wanted to hear. But
No. I mean, sometimes we can develop in software in a way that supports both no SVD and no STD and STD in the same crate. So that's not a big issue. It's just like the main focus was more of the question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think the main focus is more on Linux-ish OSs being underneath.
Makes things easier. So, but thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. There's another question regarding secure diagnostic across multiple, mixed networks, such as CAN, Ethernet, and DO IP. So how do you handle secure diagnostic?
Do we have experts in the room?
I'm not certain what is actually meant. So if you mean the classic diagnostic adapter will first support DOIP and UDS, and DOIP is inherently or can be inherently made safe by using TLS.
Is that a good answer, Anita?
Maybe you can.
So my feeling is that the question is, we have underlying different multitude of possible technologies like CAN, Ethernet, and so on. Does that hinder us from?
My question is how SOVD can handle all the networks in a secured way, because in normal UDS diagnostics with the ECU we can do, but with SOVD how we can achieve it?
Well, SOVD. If you talk SOVD, you talk basically HTTP, and then you can have TLS as a transport security, right? And so that would be part of the equation at least. So if you talk SOVD to SOVD, that's that. I would say then this is TLS is probably 80% of the answer. If you say you want to talk SOVD to other ECUs over CAN, Ethernet, and so on via UDS, then this becomes a question of the security model of the classic diagnostic adapter, right? And there again, as if I understand Florian correctly, we use also TLS in UDS. So
in DOIP, UDS doesn't support any security directly.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
But actually, you would also have the Service 27 and 29 supported as part of the CDA, I guess, so to ensure the diagnostic security with the NDCU.
I didn't follow that. Can you rephrase?
I mean, if you're talking about the security, the diagnostic security that's provided through Service 27 and 29 with the NDCU, then the CDA would, I guess, take care of also supporting the Service 27 and 29, which also provides security.
Yes, there will be support for those services, but this is more authentication instead of secure communication.
In my opinion, the classic diagnostic does not support, let's say, TLS in any way or any kind of encryption. It's 27 and 29 are just for authentication. Exactly.
So actually to handle this, actually to handle this mixed networks like CAN, Ethernet, and DOIP, we need a unified interface API, standardized API, unified standardized API interfaces. Maybe.
Okay. Well, okay. I think we'd rather take these questions offline. I mean,
yeah. So what I like is the engagement and already the deep technical discussions here. I'm afraid we won't solve it in this meeting here, but I would invite you to ask all these questions and bring your expertise into the project. As I said, we will likely have a horizontal work stream that thinks about security there. and as well in all the components that has to be handled sensibly. So very welcome to engage there and bring your knowledge and expertise to the table and make this a cool product.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe there's also a Slack channel afterwards available, or
Yeah, I think
we can also
we'd
use
better
this,
set this up for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can have one more question. There was a hand raised. Okay. Great. So I'd like then to thank you all. It was great having so many of you joining our meeting. Thank you for all the questions and for your engagement. Yeah, we'll follow up in dedicated Slack channels, and we'll also share the recording with everyone. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Thilo, team, Markus. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you,
so
Sara,
impressed. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.